All right, I think that we will begin. So good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are joining us from, and welcome to the Youth Resilience in the Digital Age Conference. Bonjour à toutes et à tous et bienvenue à la conférence sur la résilience des jeunes à l'ère numérique. To begin, the Canadian Teachers Federation and the Boys and Girls Clubs of Canada recognize the contributions of First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples of Canada. In honor of reconciliation and education, we acknowledge and give gratitude to the Indigenous peoples whose lands we are on today. My name is Dan Martin, and I'm the director of the International and Social Justice Program at the Canadian Teachers Federation. It's my pleasure to be the moderator for today's session. As we begin, I'd like to recognize that this initiative was made possible by funding from Employment and Social Development Canada, or ESDC. And this week's conference is proudly co-hosted by the Boys and Girls Clubs of Canada and the Canadian Teachers Federation. Please note that today's session is in English. We're just trying to determine whether there's going to be closed captioning or interpretation. But as we proceed, we will make clear to you which option is available to you. Veuillez noter que la session aujourd'hui se déroule en anglais, mais on espère la plateforme vous permettre d'écouter en français. Si possible, en bas de l'écran, un choix d'interprétation en français vous est offert. If you are using translation, if the service becomes available, an option to mute the original sound is available on your interpretation menu. A short Q&A period will follow the presentation today. Please use the Q&A function to ask questions to the presenter, or the chat will also work. Or if you have any need to communicate with the technical staff, feel free to use the chat function as well to connect with other participants, or to share links, to interact with one another. Et évidemment, vous pouvez poser des questions en français ou en anglais. At the end of the presentation, as I mentioned, I'll invite the presenters to answer your questions in the order that they were asked. So it is now a great pleasure for me to welcome our two speakers for today's session. Jules Porter and Jamie Vieira, who are both with Jay's Care. For the past 20 years, Jules Porter has worked with children and youth and adults around the world as a consultant for the Association of Hole in the Wall Camps. She spent 6 years launching and directing therapeutic recreation programs for children and youth living with life-threatening illnesses in Africa and Asia and Europe and the United States. As a director at Right to Play, Jules spent 10 years designing and implementing sport for development programs around the world, with the final 5 years focusing solely on working in partnership with 80 First Nations in Canada on the Promoting Life Skills in Aboriginal Youth, or PLAY program. She's taught as an adjunct professor at Hinks Delcrest Centre and has captained Camp Erin, which is Canada's first bereavement camp for children and youth. Her current role as Director of Program for Jay's Care Foundation involves partnering with a wide range of agencies across the country who work with children facing multiple barriers, from children living in the remote north to children who are recently bereaved, from children living with disabilities to children who are Crown wards. Jules' work is designed to enhance protective factors among children and youth and support youth to fulfill their tremendous potential. Jules has a degree in childhood youth care from the University of Victoria with a specialization in bereavement. Jamie Vieira has her master's degree from York University in kinesiology and health science. Jamie's been a long-time girls softball coach who passionately advocates for women in sport. As part of the Jay's Care team, Jamie's assisted in adapting in-person programs to be offered online and to help increase the confidence and the ability of caring adults who are role models to children in the Jay's Care programs. Using her background in health sciences, teaching and coaching, Jamie brings a unique lens to help caring adults connect with children and youth facing barriers. Their presentation today is called Trauma-Informed Virtual Classrooms and Programs, a play-based approach to creating trauma-informed virtual spaces for children aged 4 to 14 that can help overcome the child welfare gap. So welcome, Jules and Jamie. Thanks so much for being with us today. Over to you.
Thanks so much, Dan, and thanks to everybody for being here. I am excited to get us started and to try to make this next hour of your life feel like it was worth it for you to sit on the screen for another hour. So I will preface all of this by saying that most of the way we teach at J's Care is by doing. And so we're going to ask you to play with us today. I see already that Marin and Susan and Jordan and Maggie, I hope I'm pronouncing these names correctly. You've all been courageous enough to turn on your cameras. I see my buddy Elizabeth has just joined us as well. I'm hoping that for any of you who feel like you have the willingness to try some of these activities with us and you're feeling a little courageous today, that you will turn on the cameras, because the more you can see how it works and you can experience it, the more likely it's going to stick. So, Andrew, you rock. Okay, here we go.
Sorry, guys, I don't want to interrupt, but I need the host to set up the interpretation because the interpretation is not working right now. So I'll just need the host to set it up, if it's possible.
Absolutely. You know what? I'm gonna make sure that Dan and Jamily and Dina reached out to you so that you can set that up. And in the meantime, we'll do some in-time interpretation on our slides. Okay, so here we go. This is our goal today. Our goal is for each of you at the end of this hour to feel more confident and equipped to embed trauma-informed activities, check-ins, and practices into your virtual classrooms or your virtual programs so that kids can feel safer online. And I will say, in fact, that, you know, a lot of what we're going to do here today are things that you can embed in your brick and mortar programs too. So they're great for online, but they also work when hopefully this world of all online all the time has simmered down a bit. Hopefully you're going to take a few pieces with you as well. So we want to make this really work. We want to make this as worth your time as possible. So let's use the chat. I am going to challenge each of you to take a second to think, okay, if Jamie and Jules were awesome and this hour did exactly what I needed it to do, what would they cover? Please type into the chat anything that you're hoping we're going to cover so that we don't miss your big goals while we're here. I'm looking for anyone. Does anyone have a goal? Telling there's got to be somebody. Tips that will work in safe spaces. Love it. Marin, you're amazing. You're just excited to learn. I love having participants like that. New ideas, great. Anything else? Anything else? Examples I can take away and do right away. Great. How to get youth voluntary to show up online with some clear tools. Okay, good. So nobody is here. Nobody has written, first of all, that you're looking for a really, really deep dive into trauma. I think most of us probably know that you can't in 1 hour do that. And also that's not what our specialty is. So today we are going to try to give you tips, tricks, tactics that you can use today and tomorrow. They're just easy to slide into your programs. So why are we doing this? J's Care is the Toronto Blue Jays charitable arm. And so I'm sure a couple of you are thinking like, why are the Blue Jays leading this session? So I will say that for those of you who don't know, J's Care, our mandate is to work with children across the country who are experiencing barriers and to use the power of baseball to get them excited to show up. So generally in a non-COVID year, we have about 35,000 kids who are in our programs on a day-to-day basis. And they get to come to our programs mainly because they are experiencing some form of barrier, whether it's living with a disability, living at or below the poverty line, living in a marginalized community that receives fewer access to healthcare, access to education than other communities. Those are the kids we work with. And unfortunately, as I'm sure all of you know, because you're here because you care about kids, those are the kids who have oftentimes experienced quite a bit of trauma. And so our regular work requires us to be really trauma informed and to try different things that can support kids affected by trauma. This year, when COVID hit, we had to figure out how to do all that online. And so we have worked with 14,000 kids since the end of March. using virtual programs that are trauma informed. And I will say some of those programs have been awful. Like we have tripped along the way in very big ways. So if any of you have felt like your face was on fire in the middle of a virtual classroom or workshop, you are not alone. That is totally fine. We have done that too, but we have also learned from the kids in our programs, from the amazing staff in our programs, and from the parents supporting the kids in our programs about ways we can make our programs better and better and more trauma informed. So that's the experience we're pulling on. So let's start with an example of an activity we would use in one of our virtual programs that is about trying to check in with kids on where they're at. So I want all of you for right now to pretend you're a child, okay? You are, let's say you're a 13-year-old, and this is how it works. All right, everybody, it is so good to see you today. I'm gonna do one of my favorite activities, which is called movie time. And this is what I want you to do. I want you to think about the last 7 days of your life. All right, some of you have probably had really big highs in the last 7 days and really big lows, because that is how life is. We have highs and we have lows, and in COVID, sometimes we have more lows than highs. And so I want you to imagine that someone from Hollywood just stopped by and decided they're going to make a movie about your life. All right, they're going to make a movie about your life, and they need you to help them come up with a name, a real name for their movie. So if I was thinking about my life in the last week, my movie might be called It's Freezing Cold. My children have made it impossible for me to sleep, and boy, would it be nice to have a vacation. Okay, it's not catchy, but that would be my title. So what I am asking each of you to do is, I'm not looking for a catchy title, I'm looking for a real title. If you were going to title a movie about your last 5 days, what would it be? Now type it into the chat, but don't hit enter until I say go. You ready? Everybody start working on it. I'm going to give you 15 seconds. All right, let's all hit go at the same time. 1, 2, 3, go. Whoa, amazing, amazing. Blessed with my family and loving, staying warm and cozy. I'm alive. I ate more junk food than last night than Tom Brady has in a lifetime. Okay, so if you look through these chats, you are gonna see so many amazing different answers here. Now, I want you to pretend that you're in an actual virtual classroom or in a virtual program, and you've only got sort of 15 kids there. There's a couple things to think about. These movie titles, I could ask any one of you that I know would feel comfortable speaking in front of the group to tell me a bit about why you gave that title. Sort of help open up the story a little bit. So I'm going to see whether, Jordan, you look like a lovely, comfortable person. I wonder if you would be courageous enough to unmute yourself and tell us what was your title and why did you pick it?
My dog wanted to answer also. I put that it was freezing on the outside but warm on the inside because it was like -1 million this week. But I did a lot of cool community programming, so I was warm on the inside, and a plethora of tea on my side. So yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much, Jordan, and thank you to Jordan's dog as well. I appreciate that. So here's the thing. When we run virtual programs, we try to do a lot of creative activities to get kids to start telling us how they're really doing. And oftentimes, if you're sitting in front of a group of 15 kids or 20 kids and you just say, how's it going? How's everyone doing? You're going to get a lot of crickets. You know, or if you've got 6-year-olds, they're all going to unmute themselves and be like, I'm a superhero, everything's good. You're not going to get the meat or the depth that you're looking for. So some of what we're going to show you today is how you can check in with kids to see how they're really doing, and how you can take some of their answers that are on this chat and figure out whether there's a kid, 1 or 2 in your group that you maybe want to check in with outside of the scope of the class that you're running. Who might you be concerned about? So we're going to show you some more examples of those types of activities today. Just before we dive into the activities, I want to say a couple things just sort of to preface the theme that we're taking across this whole workshop. One is that, you know, everyone who's on here knows this, but trauma has been commonplace historically for kids across the country. I mean, that's the reality, that there are just tons and tons of kids in this country who have experienced trauma, and it's affecting the way they behave and the way they interact and the way that they feel. But now, with COVID, that trauma has been exacerbated. And we've got all these families who are sitting inside homes with so many different stressors that have been added to their lives, that there are way more opportunities than ever before for kids to fall through the cracks. And so it's more important now than it has ever been that everything we do is designed to try to create safer spaces for kids who are affected by trauma, because they're everywhere. So here is a quick, really depressing chat challenge, but I'm going to ask everyone to take a second and write into the chat, what do you think the answer is here? Kids Help Phone has experienced what % increase in calls since COVID started? Donna, 500,000, 500,000. These are big numbers, 80%, 75%. All right, hit it, go for it, James. What is it? 350% increase. All right, so lots of kids who were not experiencing trauma before are experiencing it now. Lots of kids who were already experiencing trauma are experiencing it in compounded ways. All right, so that's why we're doing this. Now, just to verify, this is not a trauma education workshop. I'm not going to spend any time talking about how trauma affects the brain. This workshop is all about tactics, because we believe strongly at J's Care that you can actually integrate tactics into your classrooms and your programs without knowing all that theory. It's better if you know it, but you can do it without knowing it, and your programs will be better for kids who are affected by trauma, but also for kids who haven't been. So we're just going to show you our best practices and hope there's a few that you can take away that are nuggets here. And I'm going to challenge everyone. Like, I see you, Marin. I know you're an expert in this stuff. I know Kate's on here. She's an expert too. If you are one of those experts and there's some cool things you think everyone should know, type them into the chat. Help make this a richer discussion. Okay. So the main premise we will be thinking about here, this is the only sort of little piece of psychoeducation we're going to do, is that kids need to regulate before they can relate. And so we have that bear there because, you know, if you're walking in the woods one day and you suddenly come upon a bear, most people will react in a very predictable way, which is their heart rate is going to elevate, right? Their heart rate's like this, and they're either going to freeze, okay, which is probably what I would do. Or they're going to fight. Maybe they're like, I can take this bear down. Or they're going to flee, and they're going to run as fast as they can, right? And so, you know, if you're working with kids and they've been affected by trauma, their body is in that place so much of the time. They may look completely calm, but in their home, there is a bear circulating, and they are feeling like this. And they can't answer a math question. They can't connect with a peer until you create a safe enough space that their heart rate can start to calm down a bit. All right. So everything we're going to do in this workshop is about trying to help kids regulate a bit with you, being the guide to that regulation during your sessions, so the kids can engage in the learning that you want them to engage in, and they can connect to others. I'm not saying you can't get them physically active. That kind of heart rate is a different kind of heart rate. This is the anxiety heart rate. We need to turn the volume on that down. Okay, so what do kids need in virtual classrooms and programs? They need a really safe and welcoming space, and you need to be the conductor of that. If you are leading programs, you are the one who has to design that and maintain it. They need positive connections with caring adults and peers. That is some of the stuff that helps them build back from all of the effects of trauma. They need that to support them. They need encouragement to engage verbally and physically with their cameras on. And when I say encouragement, I don't mean punitive, like, hey, get your camera on. I mean, wow, Susan, you turned your camera on today. I'm so excited that you're here with us. That kind of encouragement. And they need invitations to safely reflect on how they are doing, right? Over and over. So what we're going to do today is exactly that. we're going to give you tips and tricks on how to do each of those things. I'm going to dive into them right now. Are we ready? Here we go. Okay. So number one, you want to make it safe, welcoming. You want to make it feel safe and look safe. You want to regulate that heart rate. The first thing you have to do is think about your voice. What's the tone of voice you're using, right? Are you somebody who is always hyper excited? Everything is awesome. That is really hard to use for regulation. I want you to think about why early childhood educators are so good at getting children napping, because they can use their voice to help people calm down. So you need to become an expert at when to use your voice to excite the room and when to use your voice to calm the room. You need to become an expert in making your face say, I love you. Okay, I know we got some folks here from police services. I'm not suggesting that every time you run a workshop with kids, you're like, I love you. I'm saying more like, my face says, I love you. We've got this. We can do this, right? And some of you probably naturally have been told before, you have the best resting face in the world. It is so warm and it is so open. And some of you may have heard before, your resting face is a little harsh. Right? If you have harsh resting face, you got to work on it. Oh, look at Maggie. If anyone can see Maggie, that is magical. That is a good name, okay? Oh, no, he's killed it now. But Maggie has a magical resting face. That's what you need, warmth, right? And then the last thing on this that you really need is eye contact. And so you have to get in the business of staring at your camera. And you have to do it basically every 10 seconds. And if you don't do it, if you're a second screen user, this is what it looks like for kids. So glad you're here today. All right, that doesn't work. So everyone take a second, look at their camera, give me a big, beautiful smile. Do the I love you, I'm oozing it. Yeah, Maren, that's beautiful. Elizabeth, always beautiful. Susan, this is awesome. Okay, good. We got it. Haley, gorgeous. So you got to ooze that even if your internal conversation is, this is terrifying. I hate this. I wish I wasn't online. Why do I have to stare at my face for another second of the day? Your face has to say, like, I've got this and I've got you. That's number one. Let's go to the next one. Okay, next, you got to play as many games as possible that focus on safety and belonging. And so if you are a chemistry teacher, you still got to do it. If you are leading the cooking club, you still got to do it. If you are doing something that's about conflict resolution, still do it. And if you're someone who's like, I am not playful, I don't play games, figure out how to start playing some of them. All right, so we're going to try a couple right here that are good ones for creating safety. Do you want to yeah, there we go. Perfect. Okay, so the first one we're going to do is special show and tell. This is an easy one. Okay, so here's how it works. Everyone, you have exactly, I'm going to give you 1 minute to go and find something in your home that is deeply meaningful to you. Something that you're like, this actually really matters to me. It represents, and if you're in your office, something in your office, it represents someone I care about or something I care about, and bring it back to the screen as soon as you're ready. Got it? Go for it. You got 1 minute, think of something. I'm gonna sing a little bad song while you're doing it, just so you know how much time you have left, okay? Do, 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 do. Do 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 And I will apologize for my singing. Just showing you a way to time cue. You're probably better at it. And if I played music, it would probably be cooler. Okay, on the count of 3, I'm gonna ask everyone to show to the screen what they brought. If you are not able to show your cameras right now, just type it into the chat what you brought. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, show me the screen. Oh my gosh, I am seeing some awesome stuff. All right, here we go. So I'm gonna start with, I'm gonna get 2 volunteers. Christelle, what is that? Unmute yourself and tell us what it is. And then Samantha Jean, don't go anywhere because I want to meet your cat. So Christelle, what is that?
So this is basically a bus. It's a souvenir from the day my baby boy was born, which is why it means a lot to me.
I love it. And who's your baby boy? What's his name?
His name is Kai. He's at daycare now, which is why I'm here with you. Otherwise, it would have been impossible.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Christelle. Everyone give her a round of applause for having the courage to share. That was awesome. All right, Samantha Jean, we need to meet her or him. Who is that?
This is Arista. This is one of the many benefits of working from home, being able to have my cats make special guest appearances. But yeah, I've had her for many years and she's a big emotional support as well as just fun to have around.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Samantha. Give her a round of applause. Okay, so you want to help create safety for kids and also help them connect in a meaningful way with other children. Don't just do a regular show and tell, do a meaningful show and tell. You can ask them to find a photo on their phone of something or someone that has meaning for them. You can ask them to go find something that reminds them of the greatest place they've ever got to visit. You know, whatever it is, get them to share meaningful stuff so they can connect and get to know each other. Because now, in about 2 seconds, we learn that Christelle has a baby boy named Kai, who she's crazy about, and Samantha has the cutest, fluffiest cat that she loves, right? So we know them better than we did before. Okay, second one. This is a fun one. Sometimes you don't want to go all meaning, but you want to go sort of loosen them up. So kids feel really uncomfortable about getting in front of the camera. And if you want to create trauma-informed spaces, the more you can encourage them to be on camera, the easier it is for you to connect with them and for them to connect with you. So you want to play some games that sort of get them to loosen up and get a little bit less worried about how they feel on the screen. So here is kind of a goofy one to get us in that mind frame. And I will say, great virtual programmers and great virtual educators model sort of the humility of just going for it, right? So you're going to see me and Jamie looking ridiculous in this because part of the message we're sending to the kids is, if we can do it, you can do it. Like, if we can go there, you can go there. So this one is called Reverse Charades. Let's take, okay, Carol. Carol, it is so nice to see you. You are going to be our first volunteer, and don't be stressed. You don't have to do anything at all. All you have to do is observe us, okay? So everybody else, I'm going to ask Carol to close her eyes, and I'm going to show you all a picture of an animal, okay? Then I'm going to say, Carol, open your eyes. And when she opens her eyes, we are all going to act out that animal to the best of our ability. All right. Jamie's going to be observing to see if there's someone who deserves an Academy Award here. All right. And, you know, she finds you. Good for you. All right. And Carol, as soon as you know who we're acting out, please unmute yourself and put us out of our misery. Yell it out. Tell us what animal we are. Are you ready for this? She's had her eyes closed this whole time. Okay. So everybody else, here we go. Are you ready? Here is the first one. Can everyone see that? Yeah. Are we ready for it? Okay, Carol, open your eyes and everybody go for it. Picture the zoo.
Elephant?
That was amazing. Well done, Carol. Fantastic. Jamie, who is spectacular?
Hands down, Bree. She got the full long trunk and even made ears. It was fantastic.
All right, Bree, that makes you my next volunteer, okay? So here's what you're going to do. You're going to close your eyes now. And actually, we should just give Bree a little round of applause. Not every day you make it to the Oscars on Zoom. Okay, so Bree, will you please close your eyes? Here we go. Everybody else, are we ready for this? Okay. Bree, open your eyes. Let's go for it.
A cat, just like Samantha Jean's.
Boom, you got it. Amazing. All right, so these are just two examples. Like, I have more here. I have shark, I have turkey. I mean, you can do all sorts of things, but the concept is, if you want to create safety, playfulness is a really neat way to get there, right? You want to create safety and connection between kids. Play is one of your best vehicles. Now, I will say, you know, that if it's a group of kids, there are some kids who you know are going to be terrified about being identified as a volunteer first. So you can always say, like, who wants to volunteer to go first, right? And pick them that way. I'm just doing it this way to make sure we have a nice broad range of voices today. Okay, perfect. We're going to keep moving. So the next thing is, you know, a really great way to create a safe space is to tell kids where they're going. So COVID has basically taken that away from us. Me and Jamie live in Ontario, and, us along with all our kids are waiting for the Premier and the Minister of Education to let us know when we can go back to school. We are told, each day or each week what the new restrictions are, and basically our ability to know what's going to happen next has been stolen. And so if you think about that kid who's sitting in front of a bear, one of the greatest challenges with a bear is that it's unpredictable, right? It's unpredictable. And so one of the nicest gifts you can give kids in your programs and in your classrooms is predictability. And you hand it to them on a platter by telling them exactly what you're going to do each day. Get rid of the pop quiz, get rid of that notion of surprise and delight where you're like, and boom, this cool thing is happening. Let's just be predictable and see if that can help kids who are coming to your sessions feeling nervous. So that's as simple as saying, hey everyone, so glad you're here today. Just a reminder that this is today's schedule, and walking through everything that's going to be happening, right? That can be sending them an email before the session and walking them through what the schedule is going to be in that email. That can be having the schedule taped behind you so they can see it as you go as well, right? Think about how you can add depth to that. The second piece of this is choice. So all kids right now, including children affected by trauma, have lost their choices too. Normally when you're at school, you can choose which after-school program you want to go to, which sport you want to join, which group you want to hang out with at recess. Now you can hang out with your sibling all day long. You can hang out with your parent or parents all day long. You can hang out inside your home. Like, most of your choices are gone. So integrate choice as often as possible into your programs. I'm going to show you a quick activity about how you can do that. But maybe if you toggle out, James, here is my challenge to you. Everybody, as quickly as you can, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to see if you can do this in 15 seconds. I'm going to do a 15-second countdown. See if you can go grab 2 Kleenexes or 2 pieces of toilet paper. All right, here we go, starting now. 15, 14, 13, 12, Donna, you're amazing. 11, 10, Dina's got them. 9, Maggie with the beautiful welcoming face has them too. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Okay, so Jamie's going to lead some more activities in a second, but here is one that just gets you moving a little bit. It's as simple as this. We're going to play a quick game called Tissue Toss. You get to choose 1 tissue or 2. It's up to you. All right, so here I'm going to show you how Tissue Toss works, and then I'm going to challenge you to try it. All right, so Tissue Toss, I'm going to try it with 2 tissues. You're going to throw the tissues in the air and try to catch them, okay? Throw them, catch them. Throw them, catch them. And then when you're feeling pretty confident, you're going to throw them and see if you can spin around and catch them. Got it? Let's give it a try. Everyone back up. See if you can go for it. Get the camera on you so that me and James can see you. And give it your best shot. Nice, Kaylin. Looking good. That's it. Nice work, Dan. Jamalee, incredible. She's been doing this forever. That's it, Christelle. Amazing, Therese. Great work. Okay, good spinning. Julie did a spin. Julie did a spin. See if anyone can do a spin with it. That's it. And I'm seeing lots of people who've chosen 2 today. You're feeling bold and brave. I love it. Amazing. All right, come back and have a seat. That's just a quick example of how you can do that. Think about all the different ways in your classroom programs you can integrate, or your virtual programs, you can integrate a little bit of choice to gift that back to kids. And you will notice that, the same way I said, tell everyone where you're going, give them the schedule first, also model the whole activity first, the way I modeled it, so they can see, that's what this is going to be, right? You're pre-loading, you're front-loading them with where they're going instead of surprising them along the way. Okay. Last one, then I think I'm handing it off to James here, but is integrate routines and rituals that are fun and that they can rely on. So You know, part of being predictable is having rituals that show up every single time you see the kids. Same way that kids start to feel comfort in knowing that when they arrive at school, school starts with a lineup, they go into their classroom, the national anthem is sung, the acknowledgement of the territory, and then they sit down, and usually there's something specific that the teacher does each day, so kids know what to expect. And the end of the day looks similar. How do you do that virtually? How do you gift that to kids so they know what are the bookends that happen in each of their sessions, their time with you, and they can come to accept them, rely on them, and sort of focus their life around them. And the cool thing about virtuals is you can make them totally weird and fun and different, right? So we have lots of staff who do a Name That Tune welcome challenge. You play wicked music, all the kids join into your virtual class, and as soon as you stop the music, they know they need to get up, run around, sit back down. The first one to sit back down can tell you what the song is, and if they got it right, they can earn 10 points for the group. Right? Here's a nice one. I'm going to show you a hello handshake in a second, but you could start every session with a handshake and end every session with a handshake. You can do a closing award ceremony every single Friday. Have the kids know Friday is award ceremony. Here, I think I've got a certificate picture here if you click it. So Cheeky Chicken Award from Tanisha, right? Give out certificates and awards at the end of every week, because why? They're free. You don't even have to print them virtually. They're just there, but also because kids in a virtual context are getting fewer and fewer pieces of recognition. You know, when do they get recognized? Unless their parent is doing it or their sibling is doing it. And I, as a parent, will tell you, I am not doing it enough for my kids. And so for them to be recognized by an adult who cares goes a long way. Okay, if you untoggle James, I'll show them an example of a really cool opening and closing ritual. Okay, so this is the handshake hello, okay? You could start every session with it and end every session with it. All you gotta do is this, ready? High five, go for it. Wiggle. Punch and lock. And then smooth out your hair. Okay, let's try it all together. 1, 2, 3, go for it. High five, wiggle, punch, lock, smooth out your hair. And then I'd say, Andrew, because you were the participant of the day today, because you gave so much heart and energy, I would love for you to add the new piece to our handshake. What should it be? What's the next move? Boom! And from now on, that's how we end the handshake, right? So you can add to it and it becomes something kids rely on, but also they're like, oh, I'm in this really cool club and we do this handshake and that's part of what it is. Make sense? So the last point I'll say to all this is that, you know, if you're going to take anything from this session, take the predictable routines and ritual piece. Be predictable. And I know most of us, if you've gotten into the world of programming or teaching because what you love is performing and connecting with kids and being sort of wild and creative, I'm not trying to suck creativity out of you. I'm trying to say be creative, but help kids know where you're going with it. Don't remove the surprise and delight factor and just focus on know where you're going and delight them on that journey. Make sense? All right, James, go for it.
Okay, so Jules has taken some time to show us how we can create that safe, welcoming space. But now I want to take that safe space and talk about how we can allow for connection. So connection between the youth, connection between you as a caring adult to the youth. Because many of youth spend all day in isolation, like Jules talked about. And your program may be the only chance that they get to connect with a caring adult outside their home, but also it's another opportunity for them to connect with a kid, another peer outside of their home. And when you think about when kids came home from school or from home from their programs, they talk about that silly thing that Sally did or that joke that Jonathan said. They didn't talk about what they learned in math class. So especially when we're in an online environment. Especially when we're in an online environment, we need to make sure we are intentional about making those spaces. And one of the ways that we can do that is so simple. It's just by saying their name. So when a kid hears their name, you show that you notice them. So we're going to play a typical camp game called Huckle Buckle, and we're going to adapt it to be virtual. And I'm gonna model how, as a caring adult, you can make somebody feel special. So I'm gonna get everybody standing and we're gonna play a game of Huckle Buckle. All right, everybody. So I know that we've been in session all day. We've been sitting for so long. I want to get us up and I want to get us moving. So who here has played Huckle Buckle before? Put your hands on your head if you've played Huckle Buckle before. Wonderful. Okay, so I'm going to ask those people to be our amazing demonstrators when we get to it. But for all my friends that are new, Huckle Buckle is a game where I'm going to give you an activity. So if I say Huckle Buckle, elbow to wall, you're going to run as fast as you can, put your elbow on a wall, come back, and put your hands on your head to show me that you're done. For my friends that don't have your cameras on, that's okay. What I want you to do is do the activity, come back, and hit a reaction so I know that you've done it. All right, does that sound good? Everybody give me 2 thumbs up. Wonderful. Okay, so Huckle Buckle, knee to wall. Yes, Jordan was quick. Susan has a wall super close. That was excellent. Julie was super fast. Carol's back. Wonderful. Okay. Huckle Buckle, nose to 2 walls. Nose to 2 walls. Quick, quick, quick. All right. Marie, nice. Wow, Donna, I didn't even see you move. You were so quick. Nice. Good job. Katrina's back. Lovely. Jordan's back. All right. All right, let's do one more. I want to see Huckle Buckle, belly to door. Huckle Buckle, belly to door. Go, 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 quick, quick, quick. Nice, Mackenzie, yes. Donna's back again. Andrew's back. Lovely. Carol, good. All right, and Julie's back. All right, wonderful. Thank you, everybody. All right, you can all sit back down now. So as we can see, that was a quick, easy game that a lot of us have played with our students already or with our youth already. But we took it to the next level and I made sure to say everybody's name. I didn't just say, yay, Jules, go Jules. Instead, I said, wow, Mackenzie, that was so quick. Donna, it looks like your wall's right beside you. I gave meaningful content to show that I was watching you. I saw you participate in that activity and I'm thankful that you did. Another game that you can adapt 1,000 different ways is virtual musical chairs. I'm not going to show that game, but that's just another game that you can use to identify everybody in your room and make them feel special. The next thing that we need to make sure we are doing is creating spaces for kids to share. Like I talked about, this may be the only time that they get to share with a peer, and it's not going to happen naturally. They're not going to all of a sudden start sharing these meaningful conversations in a huge, big room. So what we suggest is by building in times to have breakout rooms or small groups. And you can do some of these activities to have opportunities for them to talk about nothing at all. You can do a team handshake and learn something about someone else. You can do a brain teaser in a small group and have the conversation go off to what they did on the weekend. And that's okay. We need to, as facilitators, make sure that we give that space for them to connect so that you can have a memorable experience for them with other kids, but it also means that they can share their own voice. In a large group like this, it's extremely intimidating to unmute yourself and to share in front of a bunch of people. So if you give a smaller space where a kid can share in a group of 3, maybe they feel a little bit more comfortable in a week or 2, or even later that day to share in front of a larger group. So some games that I'm not going to go through with everybody, but some games you can play in a smaller space is things like categories or anagrams. You can have them working on different brain teasers together or word scrambles, or even have them come up with their own team name, a team cheer, team handshake, and they can keep that throughout the whole session. And you can do activities within those groups throughout your session. The next thing I want to show you is how to encourage kids to participate, but most importantly, how to get them to turn on their camera, how to speak up, because I think we can all agree that that's one of the most challenging things online, is to have a kid feel comfortable turning on their camera when they really don't want to, or how do you get in a room full of people to somebody to share when they don't want to unmute themselves. So I'm going to show you 3 quick ways that are a lot of fun that you can do in your session throughout to try to motivate them to engage. So one of the first things is just by having a code word. If you start off the session and say, every time I say the word pickles, you're going to turn on your camera really, really quickly. Don't have to keep it on, but if you turn on your camera when I say the word pickles, we're going to get a point for, I don't know, a dance party on Friday. And just by doing that, you throw in the random word pickles and they turn on their camera, or you make it jelly bean or whatever you want your code word to be. But you can have them turn on their camera, speak in the microphone, type in the chat, whatever you're struggling with in your program. A very similar activity is by having a rewards jar. So I don't know if you can see that here, but it just says that we're going to do an escape room on Friday. So I can have this jar sitting on a shelf, constantly in view. And every time I see somebody participate, I can put another little pom-pom in there, or piece of paper, or candy, or anything at all, but something that you can visually see to get people to participate. The last thing, which is super fun, that I wish I had stickers at home, so unfortunately I'm going to make Jules do this one for me, but it's called Sticker Face. So the exact same premise, but every time somebody, let's say, types in the chat, if you're having struggles getting people to participate in the chat, you can ask them to do something and they put a sticker on your face. So I'm going to ask everybody right now to just toss a question that you have in the chat, just a random word in the chat even. And when you do that, you're going to see Jules put a sticker on her face. It's as simple as that. So just a random word into the chat. All right, we got 2. Susan says ideas. We got dancing alligator. And as the session goes, once people are participating, you see Jules's face now full of stickers, and you can keep it that way. You can do the whole session with stickers on your face. You look like a total silly fool, but it brings down everybody else's guard. You keep playing. There's still more in the chat, Jules. I'm so sorry. But this is just a fun way that you as a facilitator can make a little bit of a fool of yourself to make sure that people feel safe and that they want to engage with you. The last thing that I'm going to go with everybody today is I'm going to give 3 more examples of how you can get people to feel relaxed and involved. So we now went over a few strategies there of how to get their cameras on, how to talk very briefly, but how do you create that safe space to get them to calm their heart rate down, feeling like they can be themselves in a really fun environment. One of the games you can play is called Freeze Screen. Very easy, very quick. You can actually just freeze on screen. And every time you freeze on screen, the kids have to chant something at you like, Jamie's back, we want Jamie back, anything at all. And you can have them participate that way. So again, they're turning on their cameras, they're unmuting themselves, talking to you. One game we're gonna play super quickly is Teddy Bear Picnic. So I want everybody to turn off your cameras if you have them on. And I want you to run and find a teddy bear, an action figure, anything at all. And I want that teddy bear or action figure to take your place in your camera. So I'm going to give everybody 30 seconds to put in your camera a teddy bear or an action figure or anything at all. But I'm going to count you down. In 30 seconds, we're all going to turn on our cameras at once to see a new face. All right, 30 seconds starting now. Everybody turn off your camera and we're going to turn it on all at once. Another 20 seconds. Now I'm going to ask everybody all at once to turn on their screen with their new personality. 10 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Turn on your screens. All right. So I see a lot of fun things in people's screens, but what you can do is you can do a whole session where you have a kid's stuffy in their chair, or for whatever reason, I had a skeleton more accessible than a stuffy, but that's besides the point. You can do your whole session as a kid behind your chair. If you're super nervous and you don't want to be the focal point on your screen, you can let your stuffy talk to you. So the important thing there is just to make it silly. Make it a safe space where now your dog is talking for the whole session. It's not you, the pressure's off. You can also do group costumes. So if you come on screen, suddenly you're a construction worker and you do the whole thing in a weird costume and you take on this new persona, you're now the most fun person in the whole world. They want to come back to your session every day because Jules is going to show up with more stickers on her face, or Jamie's going to have a cowboy hat tomorrow. Whatever you do in these sessions, just make it fun and make it so that the kids want to come back and feel safe to be themselves in a space that they can be themselves and be rewarded for doing so. I'm going to pass it back off to Jules to bring home here.
Thanks so much, James. All right, so we've got some tactics for how to sort of encourage children to engage. And I will tell you that, you know, with the number of the programs that we ran this summer, the first 3 weeks, kids were really nervous about turning their cameras on. But by the time we finished our 7th week of summer camp, we had about 99% of the 542 kids we had in our virtual Rookie League program with their cameras on, including 15 and 16-year-olds. You know, our staff were just sort of relentless in their encouragement, and it made a big difference. So we hope some of these are worth trying. And even if you're like, I'm not going to put those stickers on my face, think what else would you be willing to do to celebrate kids who even turn their camera on for 2 seconds, right? Just a little, it's like a little, one little piece leads to a lot. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about, I'm just going to take some of these off because they're like ripping out my mustache, but is these wellness checks. So we know that the data is awful. More kids are in crisis than ever before. And so as caring adults who are either their educators or their program leaders, our job is to be checking in with kids to figure out how they're doing. And I showed you that example of my movie title. I just want to show you a couple other kind of fun ways that you can check in with kids and get a sense of how they're doing. So maybe if you toggle out of this, James, I'll do it with the whole screen with everyone on. So, okay, this one is called My Mood Animal. All right, so I need everyone to have a piece of paper and a marker or a pen. All right, and you do not need to be a good artist for this. This is a fun activity. If you're a horrific drawer, that will make it more entertaining. All right, this is just about sort of breathing, relaxing into the art. So, you know, we've all had a week. It's a week since we last saw each other. I saw you last Monday. I'm pretending. We all get that, right? I saw you last Monday. Now I'm seeing you again this Monday. And I want to know how you're doing. But the best way for me to figure out how you're doing is, I think, through my favorite activity, mood animals. And here's how it works. You know, picture the moods that you've had this last week. You probably had some moments of some days where you felt awesome and some moments of some days where you felt miserable, because that is how life is. But sometimes you have a week where it's way more awesome than miserable, and sometimes you have a week that feels way more miserable than awesome. So once you kind of know what's the mood I've been in most of the week, I want you to think, what animal sort of reminds me of that mood? So for me, when I think of a turtle, I think of someone who is feeling slow and tired and just kind of done. I mean, that's what a turtle is for me. Other people might be like, a turtle for me is wisdom, right? It's just for you. What animal represents the mood that you have had this past week? And I want you to take 1 minute to try to draw that animal. Go for it. And like I said, don't worry if you're sort of thinking that your drawing is not so good. This isn't, we're not getting graded on this. It's just to sort of think differently for a minute. I'm going to give you 10 more seconds. And if we had more time, I would ask you to grab some colors. You know, we could really dive into it. But for the sake of just modeling it, we're going to do it kind of in rapid speed here. But okay, when I say go, we're going to try to hold those pictures up to the screen. You ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go for it. Go for it. Oh, these are amazing. These are amazing. Okay, so you know what? I'm going to ask Julie, would you be willing to tell me, that looks like, first of all, it's a spectacular drawing, but would you be willing to unmute yourself and tell us what you drew and why?
Sure. So it's supposed to be like one of those like big lizards people have in their houses. And I just think of them kind of generally as like, can they slow, they plod along, especially in winter when it's colder. But they can also be like all like whatever. So sorry, we have recess out right now and they're really noisy in the hall, but I just felt kind of like slow this week, but at the same time, like with bursts of energy. So that's kind of why I thought of this little character.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Julie. Okay, so give a round of applause. Perfect. So with the kids, I would ask them to hold up the pictures for longer, and I'd take a screenshot so I could see them all. And I'd ask any volunteers who are willing to tell us a bit about it. And I might start by being a bit vulnerable myself and saying, like, I picked a giraffe this week because my neck is hurting. And I think it's hurting because I'm just feeling stressed. And I picked a giraffe because, you know, it's supposed to be looking up at the top and sort of seeing the world, but you know, I know that's what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm not sure that I'm actually doing it. Like, I would sort of go to a vulnerable place so that kids feel permission. I would ask one or two kids who I know would be confident enough to share really, you know, in a meaningful way first, and then see what happens. Then at the end of the day, I would take a look back at that photo I took of the screenshot and see, are there any kids who drew, you know, a sloth? Are there any kids who drew a dragon on fire? Are there any kids who drew roadkill? You know, are there any kids who I should maybe be worried about? And if your programs include one-on-one check-ins with kids, and you're normally doing that, these are spectacular ways to open up the conversation. Like, I'm so excited to talk to you today, Jamily. We're going to practice our reading, but before we do, can we talk about that picture you drew yesterday? I want you to tell me more about it. You know, use that as your entryway to have a conversation with kids about where they're at. And when you're worried about where they're at, call supports to help those kids out. Because right now, kids need more supports than ever before. All right, it's 2:13. We are out of time, but I do want to say we are providing you with, there's a resource we wrote that have all these activities, plus I think 50 more in them, all separated into these categories, and you're all going to get them. If any of you were like, whoa, that was decent, but I want way more, we offer about 8 workshops a week that are, or not a week, a month, that are free virtually, and you're all welcome to attend any of them you want, or if you know other caring adults who you think could benefit, please sign them up. I'll send you an email afterwards. But also, I'll just stay here for a couple minutes and invite any of you to use the chat if you have questions, or to unmute yourself and ask it if we didn't hit what you were hoping for.
I see that Dan's mic isn't working, so I'll chime in for you, Dan. But obviously, thank you so much to Jules and Jamie for an excellent presentation. I hope that all of you enjoyed this amazing presentation as well. So yeah, we'll be keeping an eye on the chat box. I know, Jules, you've got control here, but if not, we'll just collect all of the questions as well to make sure that all of these are answered. So I'll pass it back to Jules and Jamie.
Awesome. I don't see any questions. Oh, Carol, you've got one. Yes, what is it?
Well, it's not really a question, but I'll just be vulnerable and tell you something that I thought was kind of funny. On the opening screen where it said it was Jules and Jamie from Jay's Care, I thought it was a company that you'd both created because your names both started with J. And then when I saw the logo, I was like, oh, Blue Jays. So anyway, so that's
amazing. Carol, you've maybe given us an idea to go out and leave Jay's. Just joking. We're not going to do that. That's awesome. It seems like our names are really aligned with our company.
You were meant for this organization.
Thanks, Carol.
Thank you again for all the great ideas.
Oh, well, we're so glad. Thank you to all of you who turned your cameras on and gave us your courage. And for those of you who participated with your cameras off and sort of got something from it, fantastic. I will send you all of these, and Janet, the My Weather Challenge is in that resource that you're going to get, and I'll also send you the list of all of the virtual workshops we're offering. I've also seen here, Donna, do you guys work from a place that all kids attend because they're told to, or do they find you, they find us voluntarily? So the kids sign up with us and they register. It depends on what our partner is. So we work with Boys and Girls Clubs a ton, and their participants always register. Either their family is really excited about them registering or they are. And the programs we run directly, kids and their families have to opt in. They're not mandated, but we do run some programs in schools where there's not as much of an option for the kids to opt in or not. We do some cool virtual school stuff as well. Yeah, and the resources will come through an email. I think they're also on a website that Dina and everyone is going to share with everyone too. Okay. I think that's it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jules and Jamie. Just keeping, the time in mind, of course. So yes, of course, this brings us to the end of the session. We invite you to view the resources and the recordings of all of the sessions on the event conference page. So that's digitalresilience.ca. Yep, just right there on the screen. And to tweet about the conference session using hashtag digitalresilience2021 and tag us on social media. So thank you again to Jules and Jamie for answering those questions and for the great presentation on virtual programming that provides effective tactics and fun tools and activities to create trauma-informed virtual spaces. It was a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you all for attending. Merci à toutes et à tous.